someone attend, and that isn't good enough. So certainly what we can do afterwards, because I'm I'm the local officer. We don't have to go through a complaint process to get the right thing done. We can sort that out. And if you still want to make a complaint, that's absolutely fine. My priority is getting the right thing done by you. So we'll sort that out. As for how we manage this in the future, there is a lot to be said around educating our communication staff, our first point of contact. That presents a lot of challenges because there's a very large number of part-time staff on very different shift patterns. That makes it hard to spread that learning. We know, we're very, very conscious of it. We try and put processes and procedures and systems into place to try and pick up some of these. Locally, we do keep an eye on local trends in terms of burglary and trying to pick up these things, but we're not perfect.
No, I know. Giving your argument like I say whatever, it's all about money, isn't it? Everything just boils down to money.
We'll sue around you a better place to comment around the impact of that.
So what I would say is, never been my intention to come here and put a bleeding limb on the table and say we've got money, we can't do that. We actually have got enough money to send the police officer around to investigate a burglary where there would appear to be some evidence like a fingerprint. So we have got that, and what I would say is something's gone wrong. So give Nigel a chance to look into it. Yeah. It's probably too late to put that right because the fingerprint's gone, but it isn't too late to have a proper look at these images. And I understand how important this is, and it's serious business, and we should be investigating a burglary. And actually, as you describe it, that is a dwelling burglary, actually.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, I'd like to address Chief Inspector Nigel Corson. I'm the chairman of Highbridge and Bishopsworth and Headley Park community rooms. I'm also the neighbourhood watch coordinator for that area. My wife runs two elderly ladies, disabled ladies as well, in the offices that we live in or stay in. We virtually live there. What I would like to say is, whatever meeting I've been to, and you've been in attendance at some of them, Highridge is never ever mentioned, even to the neighbourhood partnerships, private place, anyone. Never. I just wonder why it's not mentioned at all. You haven't mentioned it here.
No, I mean, when I talk about Hartcliffe includes Highridge. And that's why, because the General said about Whitchurch, so there are parts of Whitchurch, parts of Highridge, parts of what you would call Bishopsworth, that are all within that Hartcliffe area. For our purposes, so Hartcliffe covers all of that.
So from Highridge to Hartcliffe is about 4.5 miles, 5 miles, so we cover that. So that comes in.
That's all within the one area.
Okay. Our crime rate in the area of Highridge in Bishopsworth in the month of November was 160. Now that's way up from what it used to be. Now we found that on the Highridge Forum that we meet every month, we've invited Tom Thompson, you're one of the MCs, to our meetings. Now for the last 6 or 8 months, we've only had him on there twice.
Okay.
Now I'm wondering why, because at one time, once a week when your PCSO was also on duty, she used to pop in and the elderly ladies used to give us information as to i.e. drugs or antisocial behaviour or anything in the area. We used to pass that on to Gemma.
Yeah, and Gemma's still there.
Well, is she still working for the police force?
Gemma's still there, she's still your PCSO.
Right. Well, we haven't seen her or a policeman in the last 5 months.
Okay.
And yet we're the community centre where you need us as much as we need you.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, we've got loads of people there that's on drugs. We've had to go to the community place in the Feeder Road, which is the main drug organisation, give them the names and addresses and whatever, because we found that we can't seem to, we haven't even seen a police car in the High Ridge area at all.
Okay.
And in my street, being the neighbourhood watch coordinator, unknown to me there was 4 instances, one of arson, one of sexual assault, one of antisocial behaviour, and one of burglary. I didn't know anything about that.
Okay, so there are a couple of things you've raised there. Firstly, our response in the way in which we work with Neighbourhood Watch. Again, sadly, I'm going to be sitting here, I think, and apologising a fair bit. It hasn't been good enough. Only today, generally hand on heart, I've sat down with the Assistant Chief Constable and one of the superintendents in charge of neighbourhood policing, and we've talked around our engagement strategy. We recognise that because we haven't had our model of neighbourhood policing entirely right this last couple of years, we haven't had the capacity to do some of that softer side of policing. Our big managers and our PCSOs have been abstracted to help deal with some of the calls that we receive day to day in terms of meeting that day-to-day demand, and they haven't had that time and capacity to sit down with you, which they should have. Absolutely they should have. And they should be listening to your intelligence, they should be picking up on your concerns, and they should be taking appropriate action. So that will change. I will make that promise, that will change. I can't change it from the past, but...
Right, well, I hope that will take place. Only it seems quite coincidental that 6 months ago, my chairman of the High Ridge Forum sent you personally an email saying that he invited PCs and PCSOs to our High Ridge
I remember
meeting.
it. I remember it.
Can you remember that?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
at the end of that email it says that your PCSOs is quite happy to come into the HBH office and
Yeah.
sit down and have tea and coffee, but every time they come in they was given a list of problems that we have in the area. Now the chairman knew that, but it seems coincidental that once you receive that, we haven't seen that PCSO or a PCO at all.
I can remember you sending that to me. I've recently, in that period, in fact, 6 months ago, I got promoted, so I'm less responsible for the day-to-day operational management of it. So that was passed on to the Tom and Gemma, and I was given assurances that that would be actioned. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to have been so. All I can do is apologise. I will make sure that they make contact with you and we resolve this going forward.
Is it possible to make an appointment for a meeting with you?
Yes, absolutely, no problem at all.
Right. So, but to do that, I send you an email.
Yep, still on the same email.
Right. I'll do that then.
Okay.
I did not agree with that email that was sent, because it had nothing to do with Our Ladies or our group.
Yeah.
It was done on the chairman's own back, which I thought was disgusting. I'm sorry, it was his attitude.
Well, let's have a meeting and let's sort it out and move forward,
I
okay?
didn't agree with his attitude, because that demeaned what we were trying to do before he interfered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can remember vaguely some of the stuff that was mentioned. So we'll talk about it outside the meeting, but I will promise to help resolve
Thank you
it.
very much, Chief.
Thank you. Have we got any other questions from Carol at the back?
It's just, Nigel mentioned in his speech about the drop in crime. And the reason why it's dropping, Nigel, is because people ain't reporting it. You know, you're saying about car crime, the amount of cars it's done. One of the vans down by us had the wheels took off the other week, the whole 4 wheels, and they unloaded his complete van. People are not reporting, and this is where the build-up from your PCSOs and your team has got to start getting back out there and building the confidence back up within this community for people to feel safe, to be able to tell them that this is happening.
Yeah.
You know, the burglary issue, we had attempted burglary last week. And I can't fault the police. They were absolutely fantastic. The way we were dealt with and everything. So well done to the team for the way that they handled the issue.
Well, thank you. I mean, we do. By and large, most things we do okay or we do well. Some things we do exceptionally well. Sadly, some things we don't do well. But it's like anything, you usually see all the bad news on TV because I think it's been proven bad news is what sells, it's what interests people. So, you know, we are very conscious of that, but we don't ever lose sight. There is some very good work going on out there.
Robury Road do not praise themselves enough, and I've had this conversation with you for years. You have to start publicising the good work that the team is actually doing.
Yeah.
And people then can weigh that up.
Yeah.
Is when they don't realise the good work that is actually being done.
No, it's a very, very valid point. And again, in our engagement that we were talking about this morning, we're very much making that point. We have to find the right ways of getting that good news out so it lands with people and people understand it and accept it. Yes.
So if we can just say a couple of things. Where we've got active community groups, and Sue said where you get strong communities, crime doesn't thrive, and she's right. So it's very much in our interest to work with strong communities and help build them. So where we've got people who care, and we were coming together with vulnerable people to help support them and listen to them, I want my neighbourhood teams to have the time to engage with them, so they know people and are known. I'm not going to sit here and say that we can be all things to all people. You know that we can't, but we need to know and be known, and we need to listen, and we need to work with you, and we need to sometimes ask you what we would like you to do to help, whether it's about securing your garage, putting security on, but our deal is if something happens, we turn up. So I think that's an important thing. There is an issue of factual accuracy that I just want to throw in about crime. We recorded last year probably about 30,000 crimes more than we recorded 2 years ago. So I'm not sitting here telling you that crime's going down, actually, at all. The crimes that we're recording many, many more of are crimes of domestic abuse, sexual offences and vulnerability. The crime types that we are recording less of is traditional stuff, like Nigel said, like burglary and car crime and robbery. But Carol, I fully accept that some crimes are really significantly underreported, and if people don't trust us, then they're not going to tell us what's happening. And actually the clear message from us is we want you to tell us about crime, and we want you to tell us about people you think are suspicious and dealing drugs, or whether they're terrorists or sex offenders. If you don't do that, that will fail. So we are, Sue's asked me to protect the number of police officers and PCSOs working in local neighbourhoods. Now, we don't have the last 2 years going to do going forward. We have taken the opportunity to refresh, and we're just about relaunching exactly what it is we want those neighbourhood teams to be doing. And these are the guys that are sitting here, standing here. And actually, we want them to be dealing with the most vulnerable on their patch. We want them to be dealing with the dangerous and risky offenders on their patch. We want them to be solving problems and ridding people of the misery of it is to be worried about being a victim of crime or a repeat victim of crime. So I'm not sitting here promising you everything's going to be great, but I have got dedicated and passionate people who care about what they're doing, and with your help, I think we can do better.
Okay. We've got any more questions? Sorry, this gentleman.
Yeah, I just want to find out about which way we can get involved in the voluntary side of policing to help out there. What ways can you attract the local people to get involved with the police? Breaking down the barriers that exist between the local people and the police. Because I've had issues myself, but I've drawn a line into that in the sand.
Okay, thank you.
Well, actually, we have a citizens in policing strategy. One of our assistant chief constables, Steve Cullen, is currently leading on that. And the local superintendent for Bristol, Andy Bennett, is helping in that regard. We're very conscious that we need to, bring in the help and specialist skills of the community. There are quite a variety of ways in which that can be done. One of the things that we released today is that we're actually looking for drivers, people that can drive. One of the things that I think some of our PCSOs most frustrates them is they frequently get called to collect medication from pharmacies to take to custody units because people who are arrested need their methadone, and that duty typically falls to a PCSO. But while they're doing that, they're not on the streets, they are not engaging with their communities, they're not picking up the intelligence, they're not going to your meetings. But why isn't it that a member of the public with the right, make sure they've got the right qualifications, that you know, they're the right type of person, why isn't it that they can do something like that? So that's one option. It's around having neighbourhood watch, strong neighbourhood watch groups. It's about having strong contacts within the community that know people. Sometimes it's very informal stuff. When we were doing a lot of work down at Newquay Road to tackle crime and antisocial behaviour there, we used people in the community that we knew. They didn't want any formal title, they didn't want to be identified as working with us, but we would tell them what's going on, and over the garden fence they would tell their neighbours, and the neighbours would tell their other neighbours. That spread the message far more effectively than us writing a newsletter and delivering it in people's doors, because it got thrown away. So we're very, very keen to hear of anyone who's interested in working with us, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll think, you know, how can you help? What can you bring? We've got taken a number of recruits recently on a scheme called Police Now, and this is bringing in some very keen minds out of universities, which we've typically struggled to get good representation from. But it's the sort of people that want to, instead of drive the police cars around the area with blue lights on and go from job to job, they actually want to go into communities and make a difference. So we've got those recruits, they're coming into the areas like Hartcliffe and Filbert, and I was speaking to one of them today because I've got 4 on my neighbourhood team, and she is actively looking at how to involve local people to give them the knowledge of what we know, but also to make it a two-way process, to pick up what they know and what ideas they have. So we are actually starting an awful lot of work in terms of doing that. So we'll take your details, I'll get someone to speak to you, and we'll have a conversation about what we could do.
I'm already in the CRT group, like Avon in Somerset Fire Brigade.
Yes.
I volunteer on there every other Tuesday.
Okay.
So I get, you know, valuable training like from them, and I have had, like, you know, police interaction, like training with the police as well. Like, you know, because you do a drive along scheme.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, it's wonderful. We'll take your details and we'll be in touch with you.
okay.
Okay. And I think gentleman next to you.
Can I just say, though, I'd like to thank anyone who's part of that community resilience team. I went out with them a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that they work in areas, they're going out to the rivers, particularly in Bath and Bristol, to stop people falling in. And in fact, there were a couple of incidents that they actually persuaded someone not to jump. Quite amazing. You know, we have amazing people in our community, but there is a deal to be done, isn't there? And you can hear that today. Is that I'm really disappointed that as a neighbourhood watch coordinator that you don't feel supported. I will take that away, because that really upsets me. Because there is a deal that if we're asking you to be part and working with the police got to do their part too. And so I'm sure those messages will be heard by the chief and by Nigel. But it is a two-way relationship. It's give and take. So we will take that on. We will take that very much on board. So thank you for that. This gentleman here.
Yeah, my name's Ian. I go to one of the churches on the estate, and after we did an event last year, out of which I made some contact with people at Broadby Road, Alexa. Yeah. And I think she said that they had various different people, but they were changing staffing. Because I was saying, okay, I don't know what we can do, but there's a number of different Christian workers and a number of different church congregations around. And I wanted to try and work out what would be the most constructive things that we can do to help you guys, and also, like even tonight, kind of like to be better informed. Sometimes, we need to get our heads around what's going on really in Philwood, what's going on in Hartcliffe as well. But just to kind of find some better channels, so that if I get my head around that, it's a little easier to communicate that message, and obviously try and push that as well.
So are you Philwood based?
Yeah.
So
I live here, and
John and Gary behind you there, they'll have a conversation with you, and we'll take that forward.
Cool. Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
Hi there, I'm Paul Goggin, one of the three councillors for I'm from Widdywood, and I'm a Philwood resident as well, so sort of in the heart of it all really. The good news that seems to have come out tonight is that you're going to be recruiting an extra 300 police officers, and also it sounds as if the strategy for using your PCSOs in more of that community role. So there are two good things I'm hearing coming out tonight. What is the sort of timescale for the recruitment of the new officers?
Without wanting to squash any opportunity to celebrate some good news, whilst we are recruiting, and Nigel was right, we need people from every community in South Bristol would be a community that we would want to recruit from. You need your people, your young people, and your more mature people. They're new officers, but it's not an increase in our establishment. Do you know what I mean? So we're replacing some of the people that are getting older and retiring. So I wouldn't want you to go away with the illusion there's more police going to be around. We're probably going to advertise for police officers again in April. That's when we're going to advertise. We have a look at our website. We're recruiting call handlers all the time. It's a really important job. We've got police staff roles at every description you could ever imagine. And policing is a wonderful, wonderful occupation. It's a job that you never finish. It's an impossible job, which is why great people flourish in it. So, yeah, if you've got anyone who's thinking of, tell them to keep looking.
Yeah, if you look at the website, it's available there. Sorry, this gentleman.
Well, just one question. How well publicised because I'm quite disappointed in the turnout.
It was, we did.
I've only seen it on Facebook this morning.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. We have done a phenomenal amount of work to encourage people. We have posted things through doors.
Yeah.
We have had PCSOs. We have had officers. We've had posters everywhere. But it is January, February. It is February. It is cold. But one of the things that's really important is people often criticise the police and myself for not coming out to communicate. Well, we do this on a very, very regular basis. So when people, and you could say, if I was a glass half full, you could say that if there was a real issue, this place would be flooded out.
Yes.
Everyone would come. So you could say, if you're being optimistic.
I'm also wondering, is it a reflection on what the young girl said at the back about the report of crime? I know you don't know nobody comes up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Carol will be delighted to be referred to as a young girl. And I think you have a point. We do have, the one thing that the police are never is complacent. They constantly strive to be able to deliver a good service. Sometimes they get it wrong, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And look, we will never be policed hopefully by computers. So we are very much a people business. So yes, I'm delighted that there are so many people here, but I'm not going to have a go at the community for not turning up. I always feel it's a bit like, the vicar at church on Christmas Day always has a go why you've all turned up for Christmas Day, but no one turns up the rest of the year. Actually, the fact that you've turned up is I'm really, really appreciative. So thank you very much. So are there any other questions? Otherwise,
Can I just ask very quickly? I saw about this initiative with the cadets at the local school, Knowle school, I think. I was very impressed with the whole idea of it, and it obviously is going down well. Is there any possibility of this being rolled out into other schools? I mean, it seems a brilliant idea to take them to all sorts of communities.
Yeah, I have some views on it. Firstly, we have to make sure it works. It's very new. There are cost implications, and that's something we have to be quite conscious of. I certainly want it to be focused, certainly initially, in the areas that need it most, because we have to be realistic. It has attracted a lot of attention, and it's in one regard, it's wonderful seeing people say, "I love it. I'd love to see it in my school." That though does present a lot of challenges, and there is a little bit of me that, you know, for once, this is something that's a little bit special for South Bristol, and there isn't typically a lot that seems to be special about South Bristol. I think it's the most special area. I love it. I'm really passionate about it. So a little bit of me is a little bit jealous and wants to keep it just a little bit. But we are rolling it out, and it will go to other schools. And probably what we will do over time is we'll take some of the positive aspects of it, and we'll try and mould something around schools, but maybe not in quite the same extent to which we've done with this school.
We also have cadets. We have over 230 cadets across Avon and Somerset, the ages from, I'm going to say 13 to 18, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. And where we work with them on a weekly basis